My topic today, I title it, Escape the Debt Trap. If you've never thought of it this way, debt is a trap that you must learn how to escape. Because debt limits you from thriving. When you think about it on a deeper level, and academic research proves it, debt creates mental health problems like insomnia, hopelessness, depression. In fact, in a 2017 survey by Magnify Money, they noted that 21% of all divorces are due to money problems. And if a couple made over $100,000 a year, it was 33% of divorces were due to that. If they made between $50,000 and $99,000 a year, 25% of divorces are due to money. But if they made under $50,000 a year, only 18% of divorces are due to that. I'm not suggesting that you make less money. What I'm saying is that money, oftentimes, more money equals more problems. So we have to be very mindful of it. Henry Wheeler Shaw, who's an American humorist and lecturer, said, "Debt is like any other trap. Easy enough to get into, but hard enough to get out of." So we must ask ourselves some hard questions. How can we thrive financially given the temptation of chasing the American dream? How do we protect our financial health? How do we avoid retail therapy so we can thrive in a holistic manner? Here's a question that we must be mindful of. Does God care about our money habits, or are we on our own? And if you have no relationship with Jesus, I want you to know He cares everything about your life. He cares about every aspect, not just the spiritual, the moral, the ethical. He cares about the business aspect, the educational, the physical, the medical, the financial aspects of your life. In fact, as I teach today, you're going to find opportunities for you to be able to say, "God, do you want me as a part of your family? I'd love to experience what it means to be born again." And I'm going to give you the opportunity to do just that. And as we look at this thing of escaping the debt trap, debt can paralyze you by removing hope. It can reduce mental clarity. It can erode your faith. Thankfully, God is not afraid to enter into our traps when we're bound by debt. And He doesn't run from us. He goes right in, and He comes alongside of us, and He'll help us get out of that trap and out of that hole if we trust Him and trust His word. I recognize that the topic of debt and finance is a very tender topic, sensitive to some of you because of where you are economically. So I want to make 5 promises to you because today begins a 4-week teaching series that's titled Thriving Financially. And the promises, they deal with 5 areas. First, I want you to learn smart money management strategies. No shame, no judgment, just growth. My second promise to you is this. You will discover powerful strategies to eliminate debt and rebuild your financial future so you can thrive with confidence. Third promise. You will not be asked to give a special gift beyond your normal tithe and offerings. No bait and switch, no manipulation. That's not my teaching pattern or my pastoral experience or behavior. So I just want you to be able to learn and grow. Fourth promise, you will be challenged to make bold choices so you can thrive financially. In other words, sometimes I may flip a switch in my teaching and act like a New Yorker and get in your face and lovingly and respectfully confront you about your financial choices so that you can grow and improve. And you may have to make some hard decisions about what you're going to do. But because I love you, I'm going to confront you. Fifth promise, you will learn to build wealth that enables future generations to thrive while securing your legacy. How many can say these promises are fair? They're good. Wave at me if you're with me. Okay, good. Excellent, excellent. So let's jump in then. Let's jump in to learn how to escape the debt trap. And that is, what do you do in order to escape this debt trap? I offer you this answer: avoid debt. You may say that's a no-brainer. You're absolutely correct. But a lot of people that you know and I know, that we know, they have not avoided debt. Debt enslaves. You have to avoid it. Debt is any money owed to anyone for anything. Proverbs 22 verse 7 says, "The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender." See, slaves in the natural are restricted on many levels. Their freedom of movement is restricted. They can't go wherever they want to go, whenever they want to go. Whatever, they're restricted. And do you know that debt does the same thing? Debt removes freedom. Slaves, they don't have freedom of choice. They must take whatever they get, or whatever they can get. Debt creates the same kinds of restriction. It reduces your choices on interest rates and types of loans. In fact, assuming you want to purchase either a new or used car, and you can't buy it outrightly, that means you need to have some type of loan. Your credit score determines the interest rate that you'll gain. Let me point it out to you based on February 2025 data. If your credit score is between 3 to 500, you would be placed in what's called the deep subprime category. And you'd have an interest rate on that new car of 15.77% or 21.55%. In other words, the lender is saying, your past behavior financially creates high risk for us, so we're going to try to buttress our risk by charging you high interest rate. Now, if you had a better handle on your past debt or current debt, and your credit card score falls between 501 to 600 points, or in the subprime category, your interest rate for a new car would be 13.18%. or 18.86%. A little bit better. Not good, but a little bit better. See, the interest rate of the non-prime and prime, which are the higher categories based on your credit card score, a little bit better, but they still confirm my point. What's my point? Avoid debt. Mishandling of debt follows you. Now, let's jump ahead for the sake of time to the best interest rate, super prime category. If your credit score is between 781 and 850, this reflects someone who's paid off their past debt in an admirable fashion. So if you want to buy a new car, 5.25% interest. Used car, 7.13% interest. So the auto loan chart, it tells a story that's worth learning. What should we learn together? Avoid debt. And a lot of times we've never been taught this. We've never been taught these lessons, and so you learn it here together. Now, for some of us, we're not numbers people. I'm a numbers person. I'm not a music person. I'm a numbers person. Now, I want to take away the numbers feel, and I want to put you behind an orange Toyota Corolla. You're driving down the street, you see this orange Toyota Corolla. Man, orange is your color. Some of you said, it looks red. Okay, red's your color then. Whatever you want to call it, that's your color. You look good behind the wheel. You want to buy it. But since you can't buy a brand new car, I put you behind the wheel of a 2020 Toyota Corolla, used, 5 years old. It cost $18,000. Now, those are real numbers. I want to give you the contrast. If your credit score is in the lowest level, deep subprime, or the highest level, maybe I should reverse my hand. Lowest level, deep subprime, highest level, super prime, and if it's in the super prime, you score 840, credit card score. Deep subprime, let's set it at 400. The interest rate is varied. For the deep subprime, for the used Toyota Corolla, $18,000, 21.55%. What does that translate to in terms of monthly payment? It means that you'll pay $683.24 per month. If your credit card score was in the higher level, subprime, 840, you would pay $556.86 per month. What's the difference between the monthly payment? It's $126 per month. Now, translated, since it's a 3-year loan, over 3 years, $4,550 you'll pay just in additional interest. Why? Debt. What's my point? Avoid debt. I love what Dave Ramsey, author and financial coach, says. Debt is normal. Be weird. See, people walk around thinking that, it's normal to be indebted and normal. So Dave Ramsey says, look, why don't you just be weird then? The scripture teaches us to avoid debt. In Proverbs 22 and verse 26, scripture says, don't promise to be responsible for someone else's debts. If you should be unable to pay, they will take away even your bed. Now that's in Old Testament days, that when a person was indebted, they come and take your stuff as part of the repayment. Now there are different kinds of debt. You have credit card debt, you have consumer debt, which includes school loans, medical payment, car loans. Then you have investment debt, you have mortgage debt, you even have business debt. But before entering into any debt, you need to ask yourself some tough questions. Questions like, does it make sense to take on this debt given my other obligations? Are my spouse and I in agreement about taking on this debt? If the answer is no, don't do it. I remember this couple. The husband said, Pastor, I need to meet with you. I said, why? What's going on? He said, my wife pulled up in a driveway with a brand new $60,000 car that I knew nothing about. I need you to meet with me so I don't go crazy. Do you understand? These things happen. That's called financial infidelity. You didn't know there was a phrase that defines that. So you ask yourself questions. Am I creating needless sense of urgency by taking on this debt? See, avoid debt by waiting until you can pay cash. Many of us struggle with deferred gratification, just waiting until you can pay for it outrightly. You know, that vacation, you can't afford to go to Aruba. Go to Brooklyn. You gotta be able to avoid the debt. And so that's the first thing when you want to escape the debt trap, avoid debt. Now, let me give you another answer. Simple, but yet it needs to be stated. And that is, attack debt. To escape the debt trap, you must attack it fiercely, forcefully, and just fearlessly. You don't play with danger. You don't play with things that can entrap you and ensnare you and limit your freedom. You don't do that. See, debt can steal your joy. It can rob your peace. Debt can drive you crazy. Debt can paralyze you emotionally. Debt can disable you spiritually. Debt is something that you got to attack. You got to go after this thing with a vengeance. If you don't, you find yourself just hanging out with debt right next to you, and you wonder why you're cozying up to debt. Proverbs 21:20 says, wise people live in wealth and luxury, but stupid people spend their money as fast as they get it. Now, I didn't say that. I just read it. And this translation of the Bible, the Good News translation, the translators were blunt when they translated the Hebrew into English. And they could have used another word. They could have said unwise, not learned, not financially astute. They chose a much more blatant, in-your-face, almost a northeast kind of translation. You're stupid. And it's like, those are fighting words. You know, we've all behaved stupidly at times when it comes to buying things. I remember my wife and I, we were preparing, she's teaching in Montclair today on the same topic. And I shared with her, I said, this illustration. And I said, do you remember? She said, no. Let me tell you. Back in the beginning stage of our marriage, when we went into this home, there were no wall hangings. I got tired of looking at that blank wall, that's bare, just all I see is paint. One day I went to this art gallery and I saw these nice, beautiful paintings framed. I know I couldn't afford it, but I bought it. And there were big pieces. I'm talking about 35 by 42. I'm talking big pieces framed. I still remember them. They had Southwestern art. I brought them home. Marlinda says, what's that? I said, some artwork for the living room. She said, how much did that cost? I told her. She said, we can't afford that. Take it back. I said, there's no refund. There's no exchange. And so when I hung it, I couldn't even enjoy the pictures. I mean, I walked by and looked at it. All I knew was that was a lesson in me doing something stupid. And so I couldn't enjoy it. And when art decor changed over the years, and just the other day, I'm looking in our storage area. There were those two art paintings in the storage. And I wanted to kick them, but I paid for it. So I just looked at it. All it did was bring back bad memories. I looked at it with a jaundiced look, like, oh man, how did I do something like that? Truth be told, we've all done something stupid. The key is to stop doing financially stupid things. And we need to make a pact that we won't do that. But you know something? Debt oftentimes, it's not a financial issue. It's a heart issue. And falling into debt starts with the lust of the eyes. You know, it's attractive. I mean, think about it. When someone lusts after someone, I've never heard a guy say, man, that woman was so ugly, she just drew me in. I've never heard that. I've never heard it in all the years. You know, you're not drawn into, to someone that's not easy on the eyes. Temptation is never ugly. Temptation is attractive. Temptation, it's seductive. Temptation is sexy. Temptation is beguiling. Temptation, it's inviting. Temptation is desirable. Temptation is captivating. And you see something. And next thing you know, you buy it. And you think it's reasonable, it's rational, it's right. After all, it is a sale. And you get sucked in. You got to attack debt. Take the person, moved into a new place, no living room furniture. And they go by the store. They know they have no business going to that furniture store. They don't have the money. And they see this furniture. And they whip out that credit card, $5,000, that brand new living room furniture. They know they don't have it, but remember, it's reasonable. It's rational. It's right. After all, it's on sale. They buy it. This other couple escaped the debt trap. They needed living room furniture, but they got a bunch of carton boxes, and they're just sitting on the carton boxes in the living room. And so they make fun out of it, but guess what? They've escaped the debt trap. They've attacked it just by saying, we're not going to buy living room furniture because we can't afford it right now. We're going to save up until we can buy it. Take the guy who just had to have the 98-inch smart TV. You got to watch his games. Remember now, it's reasonable, it's rational, it's right. After all, it's a sale. And the guy, he gets store credit, $5,000, 18.99% interest rate. Now, this other guy, he avoided the debt trap. He went to his parents' attic, and he pulled down this TV, and he's watching this old black and white TV. And you know what he does? He tells all of his buddies, retro is back in style. See, to escape the debt trap, you have to understand the cost of using a credit card to make your purchases. Most people don't really understand the impact of it. So let's examine then the impact of the $5,000 purchase, whether it's the living room's furniture or the smart TV, which is a dumb move, but for that particular guy. So let's look at it though. So if you're going to examine it, oftentimes the credit card company suggests that you make the minimum payment, which is usually 2% of the balance or 3%. In this case, I put down 2%. 2% of $5,000 is $100 a month. If you make the minimum balance monthly, it will take you over 30 years to pay off the original $5,000 because of compound interest. And that means you would have paid $19,564, don't forget, and 30 cents by year 2055. That smart TV won't be in style any longer. We'll be watching TVs on our glasses. Touch the arm, it changes channels. I mean, it's a whole different world. I'm just showing you the impact of a credit card usage based on compound interest of the unpaid principal. If you decide, however, man, I'm going to attack the debt, but you can only pay 4%. That's $200 a month. In this case, it would take you 11 years and 5 months to pay off the original $5,000, and the total payback would be $8,109.16 in July of 2036. Your kids would have graduated high school already. They would have left the home. I mean, it's amazing. Now, if you decide, I need to get intense with attacking the debt, but can only pay 10% of the balance, or $500 a month, this scenario would take 4 years and 2 months to pay off the $5,000, and the total payback with interest would be $5,921.98 in April of 2029. All that to get a smart TV. Do you really need it? Now, if you decided, Pastor David, man, this sermon really spoke to my heart. The Holy Spirit used you, brother. Thank you. You gave me a wake-up call. And then you decide the moment you get home, you're going to pay off the entire $5,000 at one shot, one full swoop. That means you would have paid $0 in interest and paid off the $5,000 and avoided and escaped the debt trap. You escape the debt trap by attacking debt. You got to be alert. You got to be aggressive. You have to be assertive, because debt is dangerous to not only your present time, but to your future life. And so this whole thing of this debt, we got to really go after with a vengeance. Proverbs 6 verse 10 puts it this way: you sleep a little, you take a nap, you fold your hands and lie down to rest, so you'll be as poor as if you had been robbed. You will have as little as if you had been held up. So in other words, to attack debt requires a certain attitude and perspective. You have to hate debt. One debt reduction strategy is the debt snowball. How many have heard of that before? Debt snowball is when you take the smallest bill that you have, the smallest debt. Let's say it's $500. And instead of paying this monthly at $50 a month, you say, I'm going to get rid of this thing. And you pay it off, let's say, in 2 months while paying the other bills. Then you get so excited about, man, I reduced my debt. You take the same money that you would have paid towards that $500 bill and you reapply it now to the next largest or next smallest bill, so that you can see with excitement and encouragement and enthusiasm how you're reducing your overall indebtedness, and you become so fired up, because I want you to see that this thing, debt, that seems so overwhelming and seemed like this unconquerable beast, can be conquered, but it costs a shift in your perspective. I remember this woman many years ago. She looked like a model. 5'11", 110 pounds, attractive, dressed sharp, like you're looking at, Glamour magazine. She has these necklaces on and bracelets. I mean, all gold. No, nothing gold, yellow, white, gold. I mean, I'm going to date myself for a moment. You think about Mr. T. She was like Mrs. T. I mean, she just had all the gold. And she had spent all her money on herself, and she's in debt. So she approaches the church for the church to bail her out. She doesn't understand. That's not how we roll. I connected her to one of the older, wise women in the church, also dressed sharply, but knows where to buy things. She sat down with that older, wise woman, told her, poured out her woes, thought she was going to have a check written. The wise older woman said, sell your gold necklaces. She almost had a heart attack. What? And sell your bracelets. And when you sell it, pay the debt. And the clothes that you have, she can tell where she got those. Gucci, Armani, all the names. She said, let me give you a name where you need to start shopping for the next couple of years. Target. I mean, it was a different kind of experience. It was to say, look, you need to start living within your means so you can be able to be financially responsible. And what I'm saying to you is this: if you're going to escape the debt trap, you must not only avoid debt, you have to attack debt. I love what Susie Orman, financial advisor and author, said. The only way you will ever permanently take control of your financial life is to dig deep and fix the root problem. I want to invite you to a special, about 5-10 minute ceremony that's going to be held right here, 2 Sundays from today, on March 2nd. We're going to be having, within the middle of the service, a plastectomy. You may say, what in the world is that? Not a hysterectomy, not a vasectomy, a plastectomy. I'm going to invite individuals that have been bound by their credit cards, plastic. And you're going to come and put your credit card on the altar, and we're going to have a plastectomy. We're going to cut up all those credit cards to help you get free from this thing that's been entrapping you. Now, some of you may say, well, I'm not coming on that Sunday. I'm going to take some of the biggest guys in our church. We're going to go to your home, and we're going to have a plastectomy right there in your kitchen on the kitchen table. And so the idea, though, I'm being a bit funny and silly, but truly on March 2nd, we're going to do that. So I'm inviting you. This is how you get free. You get courageous. You get intense. You get fierce. You get to the place where you're saying, I don't want to be in debt. I don't want to be bound by debt. I don't want to be entrapped by debt. I want to be freed from debt. And you don't get freed from debt by playing with debt. You get freed from debt by being fierce towards debt. Are you with me? Are you with me? Don't be slick now. You have 5 credit cards in the left pocket, 10 in the right. You give up the 5 and then you walk away winking at me. No. We need to have a full plastectomy. So this way you can be able to be freed from this thing so you won't be tempted to do that. If this is what it takes for some, that's what it takes. Don't be like the guy who was the alcoholic and he's struggling and he drives home and he drives right by the liquor store. And then he starts praying. He says, God, if you want me to stop there, let there be a parking spot right in front of the liquor store. And sure enough, on the 10th time around the block, there's a parking spot. At some point, you're going to have to get to the place where you're serious about your need to get free from any kind of entrapment. We're not called to be trapped by anything. So we've talked about avoiding debt, attacking debt. Let me conclude with this: advance beyond debt. What would happen if you advanced beyond debt to achieve a debt-free status? Deciding to be debt-free is a noble goal, and it's a commendable goal. Perhaps your only debt would be your mortgage, but yet you're accelerating payments to pay down the principal because you realize aiming to be debt-free is doable. You got to make some big sacrifices. And for some, it may mean that you have to eat peas and rice for a couple of months. So peas and rice, I'll get sick of it. If you get sick of it, eat rice and peas. I mean, it's just flip it around. Flip it around. See, your self-talk has to change. Most people's self-talk goes like this: I deserve to treat myself to this. I work hard. I'm saying change it. I deserve to be out of debt. I work hard. See how it sounds better? It sounds a whole lot better. And sometimes when you train yourself for it to sound better, you start enjoying yourself. It's like the guy who came out of prison and he went on the circuit doing motivational speeches. And one guy got so angry, he says, I don't understand. You have no education, you ex-con, here you are going around doing motivational speeches and pulling down hundreds of thousands of dollars. It doesn't make absolutely any sense. He said, you can't even speak properly. The ex-con said to him, which sounds better? I is rich or I am poor? I is rich. According to a 2017 study, the average American eats out 18.2 meals a month. This translates to $12.75 per meal outside of the home. The average cost of a meal prepared at home is $4 per meal. You'd be saving $8.75 just by that per meal. That means you would save $159 per person per month just by eating at home. It is amazing. It takes time to prepare the food, but it's little things like that that helps you to advance beyond debt. Romans 13, verse 8, the Apostle Paul says, let no debt remain outstanding except the continuing debt to love one another. For whoever loves others has fulfilled the law. What was Paul saying here? Paul says, advance beyond debt in every area of your life except for the debt of loving people. He says, love people. Don't get out of debt in that regard, but get out of debt in everything else. So Paul he's onto something. And think about the legacy of being debt-free. If you're able to leave a wonderful, rich legacy for your family because of you living debt-free and striving towards that. Joseph Worthling, an American businessman, said, remember this, debt is a form of bondage. It is a financial termite. So it just eats away at the infrastructure of our lives, and it seems so innocent and harmless until it starts to happen. The goal that Scripture points us to is Proverbs 13, verse 22. A good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children. In 2019, CNN had this article. It was July 19th of 2019. And they talked about a guy who lived a debt-free life. His name was Dale Schroeder. And Dale never married, didn't have any children. And before he passed, he met with a friend of his who was an attorney, and they set up a college scholarship fund. Dale was a carpenter, but he lived way beneath his means, and he just saved money. When he passed, he had $3 million that he had amassed. And part of what Dale wanted was to help those that were underprivileged and had no possible ability to go to college, though they wanted to. One of the first persons he helped, or I should say the last person, because he helped 33 students go through college. Some are doctors, lawyers, dentists, educators, therapists. One of them was Kira Conrad, graduate of high school, came from a home where a mother, single parent, 3 older sisters, No way her mom would be able to pay for college for her. And when all of Kira's friends told her where they were going to school, Kira just wept. And all of a sudden, and later on, a week or so later, she gets a phone call. And the phone call says, congratulations, you're one of Dale's kids. And Dale Schroeder, his legacy was leaving monies for people like Kira. And she went through school, graduated, became a therapist, all because one man chose to live beneath his means. And when he did that, his legacy went beyond him. I want you to see this thing called being debt-free. No matter where you are right now, don't you throw in the towel and walk away from the Lord. I want you to be mindful that God is willing to help you, to get in the hole with you and hold your hand. And I want you to pull out your camera app because I want to give you access to free resources, a bunch of them. From debt consolidation forms to budget sheets to podcasts to resources, all free stuff that we have made available. We have people in our church, we have financial advisors, and there are even financial coaching that you can get. Scan that QR code, and you can, over the next weeks, months, you can use these templates to help you work on your own financial health so that you can be able to really, really thrive financially. I want you to know that. God is very, 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 very vested in your ability to climb out of any financial hole, no matter how long it may take, because He loves you and He cares for you and He wants to see you thrive. But sometimes you have to make hard decisions, and I pray that you do.